centuries, right? Historians note that blacksmiths in the Roman Empire were the first ones to actually do that. They would put, hey, I'm the best swordsmith in Rome. Here's the mark. Here's to show that this sword was made by me. That's how old trademark is. It's been around for a very long time. All right?
I thought I saw something similar that was like stamped on bread they've recovered from Pompeii.
Yeah.
Like it was stamped to say, this is a bread and this is the mark. We promise there's not a rock in it.
Yeah, you're not going to break your teeth by eating this. You know, there's no rat droppings in it, right? Yeah, and they would, I believe, they would scorch it on. It was like a little scorch mark, but pretty cool stuff. It's been around for a very long time, and it shows you that this idea that even the modern law in the United States has about instilling consumers with confidence, that was the idea even when copyright and trademark began centuries ago. So, Nestle's has the first one in Hong Kong. Avril Paints has the first mark in the United States. And here's a fun one. Stella Artois claims continuous use of the mark since 1366, so they've been making that beer for centuries. They claim that they've been using that particular trademark since 1366. All right, over the years, these evolved in today's system of registration and protection. It helps consumers identify and purchase the product or service based on the brand. They know they're getting what they're getting, you know? So what does it do? It ensures that the owners of marks have the exclusive right to use them to identify their goods and services. That's in a nutshell. Or, gee, think about what our lovely president does. Doesn't do a damn thing, but licenses his name, Trump University, Trump Steaks, Trump whatever. Have opinions. Trademark protection continued. We're going to get there. Mickey Mouse. Period of trademark protection varies around the world, but a trademark can generally be renewed indefinitely, as long as you keep up with it. Okay? Not copyright. Trademark can be renewed indefinitely.
Is this something that can also be, like say Apple has changed their logo multiple times. So is this a point in time where it can be renewed? They can renew with another, like,
they would just add it. They probably wouldn't, because you want protection for the old stuff too. Right? You would just add.
In business, like you have to still be using the trademark.
Oh yeah, yeah. You must be using it in commerce, otherwise the trademark office will reject your application. And so I've had that problem with some clients who are launching Kickstarters, and launching a Kickstarter is not enough. You're not using something in commerce if you're just on Kickstarter, because the way that it's all set up, crowdfunding, you're not investing in a product. You are patronizing someone and in the hopes that you'll get something. It's not a pre-order, really, even though everybody uses it like that, right? So you're not actually you are not considered to be using that mark in commerce if you're doing a Kickstarter. It has to be for sale, either on your website or through a distributor, but you must show that I may be able to purchase this right now if you're going to file for the mark. Okay, just to be clear about that.
Does it have to be anything substantial? Like, could you put your trademark on like a business card and sell it for a penny?
You could, but I submit to you that some examiner would look at that and laugh at you and say, no, I'm not approving that.
Okay.
How about when artists use their signatures as their mark?
There's two things involved there. That's a copyright issue too.
Okay.
I mean, because you own your signature, right?
Yeah,
so nobody should
that
be
also
using.
evolves and changes depending on like who you are.
But I would mark it. I mean, Frazetta marked his. A bunch of comic guys have their signatures marked. So, question?
No, that was a scratch.
Okay, sorry, it was out of the corner of my eye.
I have a question later.
Sure. All right. Where are we? It's usually legally enforced by courts that in most systems have the authority to stop infringement. Okay? So what kind of marks can you register? They can be one or a combination of words, letters, numbers. They can consist of drawings, symbols, or three-dimensional signs like shape and packaging of goods. Okay? You cannot put those racing stripes on your package. Those racing stripes are marked. Right? So people don't think about that. When you're, I'm going to make this game, it's a little bit like Magic, not a lot, but my card design, like the out borders of my cards are going to look like that, and my packaging is going to have, the packaging is usually marked and copywritten as well.
Look at that Artisticon.
Which one?
No, the postcard. Is it too similar to Star Wars?
No, you're fine. You're fine. It's not a double stripe. It's a single stripe.
Okay.
Seriously. It's the double racing stripe.
Really?
That's marked.
Okay.
Yeah. Sure.
I was gonna say, Kim Kardashian owns the word kimono.
She
outright.
doesn't really own the word.
So say somebody wanted to make a fantasy character and have the word kimono in it, they can still trademark, it's like, kimono?
No.
Okay.
Somebody might claim that they've tried to do that. Like, who was it? R. Kelly or somebody just tried to trademark Sunday service. Right? He gets a brand of religious clothing or whatever, and he tried to mark the words Sunday service, and the trademark office said, no, go away.
You remember San Diego oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, and then I'll ask Chris.
Oh no, I was just saying a comment. It's the same thing as Candy Crush.
Yeah.
Oh,
San Diego Comic-Con wanted the term Comic-Con.
Yeah.
Which I think they partly won.
Yeah, they got Comic-Con, but
But what happens with all these other that calls them Comic-Con?
Comic Convention.
Okay.
or Expo. isn't
Yeah.
it?
I mean, it's there are so many ways around that.
Yeah.
And the mark is probably, so there's ways to do marks. You can either do the plain language or you could do a stylized. And I submit to you, you certainly want to do stylized for Comic-Con, because then you'll just have people out there with one letter difference that are using the exact same font or whatever. I mean, and you could do both, but you know, it starts to get expensive. So if you're trying to do, it's $350 per class per registration. So if you're going in 5 classes, which is what you're going to do if you're Comic-Con, you're going to go in like entertainment, books, T-shirts, merchandising. You're going to go in a bunch of different trademark classes, and then to do it for the words, for this design, for that design. So you know, you're looking at 5 times 350 times 3. I mean, Comic-Con's got the money, but it's still a pain in the ass.
In terms like she was saying with kimono, Adobe was trying to say that they can trademark the name Illustrator.
No.
Yeah, I didn't think that.
Yeah,
flew.
I mean, there was a time. You remember when Magic tried to do tap? The tap symbol, sure, but
Right.
the word no, sorry.
Does that apply equally to a color as well?
So, remember, who's the dude that created the blacker than black?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
He owns the copyright on that. Not the mark, but the copyright. No one else can use that because he invented it and he registered it and whatever. And what is it? He actually said everybody in the world can use this for free except this one company.
Yeah.
So somebody
I
else
love
made
that.
the Vanda Black like version 2 and did that, and whoever made the first one, they can't use it.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's interesting. So non-traditional marks, things that think about holograms, right? Motion, you can actually do that. Here's a fun one: color and non-visible. So do you raise your hand if you don't think Chanel has a bunch of scent trademarks. If you don't think that Hershey has a bunch of scent trademarks, right? People don't think about these, but you can mark these. Any perfume company, any cologne company, they're gonna trademark their actual scent. The Colonel's secret recipe. Actually, that's not marked. That is trade secret. And I'm not going to get into that. That's a tech company we usually talk about. So trade secret is protected forever. You just can't tell anybody ever. And if you tell anybody, then the trade secret goes away. Yeah, it's fun stuff, but it won't matter for you guys. All right. So why do we protect trademarks? In a larger sense, they promote initiative and incentive, an enterprise worldwide by rewarding their owners with recognition and profit. It also hinders the efforts of unfair competition. That's the other reason we do it. We want to make sure that people aren't ripping off your artwork, right, and just selling it under your mark. I wish we had audio.
Weren't you an audio
You don't have your speaker, and I'll just.
Yeah, I am, but is there any way for me to get audio, Benny?
Yeah, let me ask,
Because I love playing this. This is actually,
on your
so I'll tell you a little bit about what you're going to see while he's trying to fix that. The EFF, Electronic Freedom Foundation, and Professor Eric Faden at Bucknell University here in Pennsylvania created this wonderful thing called a fairy use tale. Have you ever heard of it? And it is a fair use of all of Disney's IP, describing fair use using only Disney clips. Yeah, and I played a little bit on copyright, but it is literally everything you're about to see if we can make it work, the audio anyway, is Disney's IP describing fair use. And I love it for multiple reasons, not only because it gives Disney's lawyers an apoplectic fit, but it's a perfect example of fair use describing fair use. Yay or nay?
I believe it is on, but might need to turn on the laptop. We'll see.
Let's find out. Oh, turned on the laptop?
Yeah.
Hold on. There's no audio yet, but go ahead and read that. Yeah, it's going out over the HDMI, so we'll see what happens.
And parody.
So,
That basically that exact thing
Oh, yeah.
happened. They did have a contract, but no lawyers were involved in this contract.
Yeah, so they were
So
idiots.
it might as well not be a contract.
So let me share with you one anecdote on that. The document you find online for free that says it's a contract is worth exactly what you paid for it. I'm dead serious. People go online like, oh well, you know, I found this contract online. It looks good. I'll use it. Yeah, it's probably not the best idea, and it kills me. You know, I'll tell you straight up. I'm $3.50 an hour. To have me spend 1/2 hour of my time to read a 4-page document is orders of magnitude more than the sleep you're going to lose at night if you don't.
50 cents an hour.
Right.
$3.50.
Yeah, I'm $3.50 an hour. But
that's
I
a business expense.
exactly. You
It
can,
is.
anything you guys spend
Roll it
on a
into the
business attorney
Kickstarter.
is a business expense. I'm dead serious. You get to write it all off. It's the cost of doing business, and quite frankly, it's the cost of doing business properly. So.
And it saves you money if something goes wrong down the road.
Yeah,
That's going to.
and that's the really hard thing to do. You know, TechCrunch just came out with a new article on how do legal departments, you know, make metrics and meet metrics. How do if I'm your general counsel of your company, right? What metrics are you going to judge me by? The lawsuits that aren't filed against you, right? How do you judge me against that metric? You know. And if I'm involved in, like, let's say I'm the general counsel of a porn distribution company, you're going to expect to have X lawsuits a year. So, you know, if you get less than your expected number of lawsuits a year, it's very difficult to quantify and judge your counsel against metrics. But I submit to you that the biggest metric is the ability to sleep at night, at least for me. Right? I just did a big post on Facebook about, you know, God damn it, I just spent $1,200 on my 4 LLCs. I'm going to sleep well at night because I know if one blows up, my assets are protected. Right? So, you know, it is what it is. Copyright holders' rights. The holder of a copyright may authorize or prohibit its production in all forms or reproduction in all forms, including print and sound recording. So a bunch of complete Russian editions popping up all over Eastern Europe, and they had to really to translate your work into another language. So that'd be in movies that are complete rip-offs, but that's not really applicable to you guys.
The translation aspect is a big one for writers, if anyone gets into writing, because that's something that publishers will grab in their contracts from you if you're selling your manuscript. Publish it in English, and if you have another publisher in Germany saying, we want to translate your work and publish it in Germany, you can't sell those rights to that German publisher.
Because you're exclusive.
Your American publisher already bought them.
And that's one of the things I talk about in the contracts class, which I do like on the off year or the starting your business class. But you can segment. I'll take a little diversion here because it's important for you guys to understand. That word exploit doesn't always mean a bad thing in legal speak. And it just means I have the right to use this intellectual property, but in any manner I so choose. That's what that means. So, I mean, if you have a problem with that, then maybe you do have a problem with the word exploit, but don't let that word exploit freak you out. It doesn't mean I'm going to take advantage of it. It just means I have the right to do what I will with the IP that you're giving me, hopefully for some money.
So,
Yeah.
here's a question.
Yeah. So speaking of Disney,
Sure.
Snow White and Cinderella and all that stuff, obviously these stories are hundreds of years
Right.
old. Like, do they just not care about, like, I mean, like, my question is, like, can you paint Cinderella?
Absolutely. No issue with that whatsoever. The stories are well out of copyright,
Yeah.
but their expressions of them. You can't paint a Snow White
That looks like
with the
this.
blue and yellow sleeves and the black hair and the little. No, you can't do that. You cannot. But you can paint any version you want of Snow White that doesn't look like that.
Yeah, okay.
Right?
Yeah.
They own that expression. You go right now and paint a book, do a children's book illustrations of Snow White. Absolutely, no problem with that. Sleeping Beauty, whatever. Wait, Sleeping Beauty, was that a Grimm thing, or did Disney actually create Sleeping Beauty?
They did.
Disney did it.
Yeah, okay, sorry. So I take that last one back. Anything that's an old story, folklore or whatever.
It's in the
Sleeping
public
Beauty was
domain.
an older French story.
I
La
don't
Belle
know.
et la Bête.
It is.
Or-
Okay, then
Yeah.
maybe I am right.
Okay.
It predates.
Unintentionally.
But it was a, sorry.
There's a great website. Some guy.
Oh yeah, so the Gutenberg Foundation is now doing a. They have a wonderful running list of really cool sci-fi and fan. So just go to look at Gutenberg, and I submit to you, we're going to see some really cool art and projects and comics and movies that are going to be based on all these. I mean, it's people interested in art and culture, but you know, some of these people, their families still, and they're not going to see any money from it, and that's the thing that sucks. But I mean, for creators, for you guys, it's a good source to get some really interesting IP to play around, that sort of stuff. So creators transfer these rights to companies that are able to develop and market the works in return for compensation. Here we go, limits. So copyright law gives the holders certain exclusive rights for a limited time, such as an incentive to create works, hopefully for the enrichment of society. Basically, a monopoly. You're getting a monopoly. Nobody else can exploit the rights in this intellectual property but you, okay? In exchange for these rights, the law expects that you're going to contribute to the growth of science, culture, and the arts. That you're going to continue to. I'm not going to sell it. Now, there haven't been really many cases that test that, but it would be interesting to see if somebody created some IP 30 years ago and never did anything with it, right? And the book's fallen out of print and it's just being wasted. There's an argument to be made there. I submit to you that you should not be the ones that make it, but there's an argument to be made.
This is sort of an aside, and this is not an example, but Bill Watterson created Calvin and Hobbes, and there was an interesting disagreement syndicate wanting to merchandise, but that was sort of kind of like,
I submit to you that I can't imagine. They might have given him some sort of, review power, but not approval authority.
No, I think they did have merchandising rights, and he fought them for it.
Yeah, well, he was going
Fought
to lose
get them
that.
back. And I think
Because I remember, I'm sure I've seen Calvin and Hobbes
Calvin
dolls.
and Hobbes merchandising there never was, so he must have had some kind
He won that.
Really? So maybe it wasn't his contract then.
There's no official Calvin and Hobbes merchandise other than the books. and stuff.
Interesting, I didn't know that. That's
No Hobbes toys. No
That's
Calvin
really
toys.
interesting. I could have sworn I've seen
I had
Hobbes.
to get
There's
into
a legal
Eric
stuff
shot
out
a tiger as a kid.
There is illegal stuff out there. I've seen
Oh, yeah.
stickers.
Okay, yeah, I'm sure. There's no matter what. If you can name the IP, there's illegal stuff floating
But
around.
the Calvin peeing on a logo, totally legit.
I got to tell you, I'm in my estimation, that does not rise to the level of parody or satire. So, all right. So here's what copyright, and we'll talk about that. Here's what copyright law does not give. It does not give you total control of your work. Okay. They transition the public domain and available for the public. Was that?
Mm-hmm.